you taking me, Karen?
Well, we're on a journey into the city, Rich, but we're still collecting ingredients. But you wouldn't expect to find this particular ingredient in the middle of the city.
Does it have health properties?
Yes.
Yes.
And the workers that gather it come from far and wide.
Right.
That'll get you.
Okay.
You're not going to believe where I'm taking you. Straight up to the roof. Well, I promised you something on the rooftop. Hello, I'm Karen.
How you doing?
Hello.
Richard.
Vanessa, nice to meet you. Lovely to meet you.
How you doing?
You too.
Good, how are you?
Rich had no idea what we were about
I
to
thought
do.
we were going shopping.
We are, but we're shopping for honey. So tell us about rooftop honey, guys.
We had some backyard bees of our own that we'd been looking after, and Vanessa thought we need to connect people with their food, and using the rooftops in the city is an awesome opportunity where otherwise there would just be plant equipment up here.
Because it tells the importance of the role that bee plays in our food production.
Yeah, that's right. About 65% of our agricultural crops are dependent on bee pollination.
We love cooking with honey, and I'm doing a poached fruit tart with some custard. So we'd love to collect from you if possible.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
To even just look in the hive.
Let's get you guys kitted up. We'll light the smoker. We'll go have a quick look through these hives.
Can't wait.
Excellent.
Let's open up this hive. Beware.
That's your last one. I'm not allowed anymore.
So what are we looking for exactly here?
So we're looking at some predominantly capped honey here, and you're looking at that section there. That's all the capped honey, obviously, and then you've got the open cells, which is just nectar that's actually still being brought in by the bees.
Are any of you game enough to have a little taste now?
Come on.
Come on.
Wow, look at that.
I can't.
Yep.
It's classic beekeeping.
That is such a light, delicate floral flavour. So we might grab some honey from you on the way out.
Yeah, excellent.
Thank you very much. Okay, there it is.
I need this honey to sweeten some poaching liquid for some dried fruit. It's a great way to make a filling for a tart. So starting off with around 4 tablespoons or so. Next in with some water. Now I'll probably add around 500 mils. Then spicing the honey and the water up with some saffron. I'll put about 6 or 8 threads in there. 1 cinnamon stick.
Voila.
Voila. And then, Rich, we've got a lovely medley of spices here. Got some bay leaves.
Yep.
Maybe 3 of those. And then we've got some spices. So peppercorns, cardamom, and some cloves. Now, these would get stuck in the fruit, so we're going to wrap them in some muslin.
In the centre?
Yeah. And then tie a little sachet with a piece of string. Oh, this is teamwork at its best. And you just literally drop that into the pot.
Right.
Rich, just shave off a piece of the lemon rind with as little white pith on it as possible. And I'm just splitting a vanilla bean and throwing it in.
That's not too bad, hey?
No, that's fabulous.
That's pretty good.
So we'll pop them on the stove and simmer for 10 minutes. Trust me, Rich, it will smell so good.
All right.
So in with the fruit.
So it's basically, it's got to soak up all those wonderful flavours of the bay, the cinnamon and the spice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rich, this fruit galette style tart works so well with a chilled custard. But we're not making it with dairy milk, we're going to do it with almond milk. First thing you need is 1 litre of the almond milk into a pot and 1 vanilla bean split, and then pop it on the stove to simmer. And what you're doing then is you're infusing the almond milk with vanilla. So Rich is going to just gently scrape, and then pop it into the almond milk.
Okay.
Rich, before this goes on the stove, I think we'll check on the fruit, and you can see that it's done
It's plumped up. It's taken on all the flavour of the cinnamon and all the spice that we put in.
So now we'll just set it aside and let it cool.
And this goes back on the heat?
Yeah. Rich, next you'll need 6 yolks in your bowl,
Okay.
150 grams of caster sugar,
Okay.
and 4 tablespoons of corn flour, Rich.
All in.
Mixing through. And then as soon as the almond milk is hot, pour it back in here, Rich, and then we'll just cook the custard out over medium heat until it thickens. Lovely. So, Rich, while I'm cooking the custard out, would you mind taking the fruit over and lifting it out of the poaching liquid?
Now, these fruit have totally puffed up and taken on the flavour of the syrup. All right.
Rich, if you could just take some of the liquid from the bottom of the bowl, dip it back into the pot. We're going to reduce the liquid down to make a glaze for the galette tarts later.
Okay.
Rich, you know when your custard's done, when it coats the back of the spoon like that, and you can draw a line in it. So obviously the custard is ready and is great hot, but I also like it really chilled. You can pop that syrup on the stove. Now keep an eye on it,
Yeah.
because we really only want to reduce it by half.
Okay.
There are a couple of gluten-free short crust sweet pastries on the market. This is one of them. A log like this is going to make 4 tarts. You cut it in half, and then half again. And then we take another piece of greaseproof paper and we pop it on top, Rich, and a rolling pin, and then give it a bit of a roll. Doesn't need to be perfectly round. It just needs to be an even width when it's rolled, because all you do is take the freshly poached apple, lay on 4 slices, like that, and then tuck in, I don't know, about 8 apricots. And all you do now is you tuck that pastry in up around the fruit, and you get that sort of fluted look.
You're making that look very easy, Karen, I'm sure.
Well, I'm just using my 2 index fingers. How is that syrup, Rich?
It's getting to the point where it becomes quite foamy.
Yep, so take it off. So we're almost there. A finishing touch for these galette fruit tarts would be some egg wash or egg yolk around the edges, like this. And then you push some almonds on, Rich, just like this. I've got some flaked almonds.
Yep.
And you pop them into the preheated oven at 200 degrees, fan force, and cook for approximately 12 minutes. Whoa.
Oh, look at these.
Rich, you can see the almonds have gone brown and the fruit's starting to scorch. It's exactly what we're after. So now that we've reduced that poaching syrup right down, you can smell the vanilla, lemon,
the
saffron, spices, and the honey. You're right. And it's a great consistency to now drizzle over the tarts. And what I'll do is I'll just be coating the fruit. So you're getting that fresh honey flavour. So a little bit of custard, Rich,
Yep.
going on the plate.
Yep.
And then the way I would do it is literally pop that just off centre. This is a perfect sweet recipe for those who are gluten intolerant and lactose intolerant. It's a fruit galette with almond custard.
Karen, that is really fantastic. The pastry is really flaky and soft. And as you say, it's a little bit brittle, but it's also very short and delicious. And the custard's pretty good.
Oh, you like the custard? Yeah, that's wonderful. I think that the almond custard plays beautifully with the spiced poached fruit in the galette, and that pastry is ever so tender under the bottom. It's just got this gorgeous, gentle crumb. I think it's a real winner.
I do too. Come on. I'm going to go for more of that.
Rich, this next recipe I'm sharing with you is very dear to my heart. It's something my mère used to make for me as
what
a
do you mean,
child.
mère?
Mère is my French grandmother. And it was a milk-based chilled pudding with a touch of rosewater. Quite
Very nice.
delicious, and it was a sweet treat and very simple to make, although when I was little I thought it was the most exotic special thing that took her hours in the kitchen. But
Mine used to be rice custard.
oh, well, there you go. It's similar,
yeah.
but it's like the Middle Eastern or Tunisian version of that sort of thing.
A bit more exotic.
But I developed a recipe for you using Lidl's lactose-free milk.
Excellent.
To start off with, we need almost a litre of the milk.
Okay.
So we're going to warm the milk with some sugar. So raining that sugar in, and literally, Rich, we put this over a medium heat and just stir to dissolve the sugar in the milk. We actually don't want to bring it to the boil. You're just heating it, like scalding it, if you could. Rich, while you're doing that, I've got 100 grams of rice flour here, which traditionally my mother used the semolina, but this is the gluten-free option. I'm using the rice flour, and it also adds a lovely chalky whiteness to the pudding. So in the bowl with the 100 grams of rice flour, and then you just make a little bit of a paste or a slurry as to not get a lumpy pudding. Rich, that's the secret here. So I'm adding more of the lactose-free milk, and I'm just mixing to form a paste. Rich, has the sugar dissolved?
Yes, it has.
Okay, it should be hot by now.
Yep.
So literally...
There's a little bit of steam, which is what you want.
Well, yeah. And this is a bit of a tricky stage, Rich, but it's easy. Just gradually pouring a little bit of the hot milk into the rice flour and milk. Yeah. That's probably only about half. And then give it a good mix.
Back in.
And then back in.
And then back on.
So that's a litre of Lidl's lactose-free milk, 120 grams of sugar that's been dissolved, and then we've added 100 grams of rice flour. That needs a couple of minutes on the stove to thicken, so I better get a move on. I've got these glasses, Rich. It's a great way to serve the pudding, especially when you're using berries. So I've got some raspberries.
It's beginning to thicken.
Okay, so just drop the heat down a little bit, Rich.
Yep.
So I'm just popping some of the raspberries on the bottom. Oh, picked up the pace. I'm just throwing the raspberries in the dish.
It started to thicken really quickly.
That is beautiful. Pull it off the heat, Rich. That's all we need. Okay, now we need the magic to happen. We're going to add some rose water, and that was Mama's secret ingredient. So,
now, how much is a splash?
Well, maybe go 2 caps.
2 caps.
Now, it's clear. It's purely there just for the scent and the flavouring. That's heaps. Thank you. So this little tricky bit now is to pour the pudding in over the raspberries.
Don't you love the way it falls?
Oh, it sort of folds its way in.
Yeah, it's lovely.
So what happens to these now is I pop them in the fridge, and you allow a little bit of time for
the magic.
The puddings to chill. There we go. Once they're chilled, Rich, they look a little bit like that.
Well, they are.
They've got a slight wobble to them.
Slight wobble, which is nice.
So how do we dress these up to really take them to the next level? If you could chop some of the pistachio nuts.
All right.
So a few raspberries.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you get this sort of pulped.
How's that? Is that too chunky?
A little finer, Rich. And if I could ask you for just a touch more rose water. Because the pudding's chilled and we added, 2 cupfuls before, the flavour will then have softened a little. So I'm just going to lift those raspberries a little further by adding the slightest touch of rose water to them. And then I'm literally putting like a little rose on top of each pudding. Rich, could you pass me some of the rosewater Turkish Delight?
Oh, now look at the colour of that.
Well, it's pretty, isn't it?
Very pretty.
It's got a lovely chewy texture, a little bit sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to just drop a few pieces here and there. They're almost like jewels, aren't they?
Mm.
And following in with this Middle Eastern theme, a touch of the chopped pistachio nuts just over the top. They're adding flavour and also the crunch. And you can see that these are exotic little desserts. I really love the fact that I've taken Mama's original milk pudding recipe and turned it into something delightful. It's gluten-free, it's lactose-free, it's my rosewater milk pudding with raspberries. Rich, before we have a little sample, I've got a surprise for you. We've got a special guest on today, Zoe, and she is a food intolerance dietitian.
Okay.
Hi. How are you going, Zoe? Love
Nice to
This
meet
is
you.
Richard.
Richard, nice to meet you.
Likewise.
You know, Zoe, I'm so glad you're here because as a chef, I quite often get asked the difference between dairy and lactose intolerance. So if you could just clarify that for us, that would be great.
Yeah, look, that's a really good question because it's something that most of my clients are confused about. So lactose is the sugar that's in milk, so we call that the milk sugar, the natural sugar in milk. And then when people are referring to dairy intolerance, what they actually mean is the dairy milk protein, which is the casein.
Okay, so what is the treatment of lactose-free milk, so to speak? What happens?
So lactose-free milk is the actual milk is exactly the same as your regular milk.
Right,
They
so it would
ju-
have the same nutritional value
Absolutely.
as normal milk.
Yes.
That's
yeah.
important.
Yeah, totally. And what they do is add the enzyme lactase, which splits apart the milk sugar so that then it can be digested.
So Zoe, lactose-free products help me with my food intolerances. How does that affect other people?
So people who've got a lactose intolerance can experience symptoms of abdominal pain, bloating, excess wind, diarrhea or other altered bowel motions.
Yep.
So by having the lactose-free dairy, then if lactose is what's triggering those symptoms or the malabsorption of lactose, then the person may find that those symptoms settle.
Zoe, thank you for that enlightening information. It's been a pleasure having you on set. And please, let's try
my
these
pleasure. I've
been
rosewater
waiting
pudding.
for what spoons are.
thank you,
I
Richard.
have a spoon
There
too.
you are.
That is really good.
It's
lovely.
refreshing.
I love rose water.
And can I say thank you, my man,
Indeed.
God bless it.
wherever you are.
Ah, you picked up a few extra things?
I got some radish,
Oh, nice.
some fresh herbs.
Beautiful. Rich, they're great ingredients to go into a salad with a simply cooked steak. And I'm using St. Bernard's free-range pork, but what dresses this whole dish up, Rich, is a spice mix we're going to make from something you would normally
this
throw
one
out,
looks like- Yeah.
which is mandarin rind. What I did, Rich, was peel some mandarins. Instead of throwing them out, I put the skin on a tray in the oven and left it for 2 or 3 hours on a really low oven.
And then what happens after
Well, they're a dehydrated skin.
Yeah.
But what's trapped in here is all the essential oils you get in a mandarin skin. It's going to make a wonderful salt to go on the pork chop.
Okay.
So we
What do I do?
need to blitz these up first
Yep.
thing. Add as much as you can fit in there, Rich.
Okay, a bit of a blitz.
Rich, that's exactly what we're looking for.
Yep.
Just set it to the side, grab the mortar and pestle. And then we're going to add a few more spices that work really well with mandarin. That'd be fennel,
Yep.
a flat tablespoon,
That's about right.
Yep. and a couple of tablespoons of SZECHUAN pepper. And then give them a grind to a rough powder.
Yeah.
And while you're doing that, I'm going to grab some of the blackberries. Now, these are the Driscoll blackberries.
Yep.
They're so generous in size. All I'm going to do is drop them into a bowl.
Yep.
And all I'm doing is pickling them really simply, adding some salt and some vinegar. I've got some Spiral white wine organic vinegar.
Yeah.
And we're just going to generously pop that over the top. And then a really good pinch of salt in on the blackberries. So I'm just going to stir them, maybe crush 1 or 2, and then set it aside while we get on to the rest of the salad.
Now, what else goes in this salt mix, Karen?
Some salt.
Okay, that would be right.
A couple of flat tablespoons of flaked salt. Oh, Rich, also
Yep.
along with the salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of 5 spice. Now that's an intense spice, so use it sparingly.
That much?
A little bit less.
Less.
Now, Rich, throw in the mandarin powder, and that is your mandarin spice salt done.
I love the colour. It's like gold dust, I reckon.
It is gold dust. Now, what I'm doing here, Rich, is just getting ready before we cook our pork steaks. I've just got some radish.
That's fantastic.
I was thinking we're actually going to put some mandarin in the actual salad as well. So if you could slice those up. I've got the radish here on that side. Thanks, Rich. That's brilliant. So we've got our pork steaks. 2 of them here. These are loin pork steaks. A little bit of salt. And some pepper.
Yep.
And they are ready for the fry pan. They're going to get 5 minutes on the first side and then around 2 to 3 minutes on the other side and a little bit of a rest for 2 minutes.
Okay, let's go.
That's the sizzle of a hot pan, Rich. Okay, Rich, the pork chops are done.
Yeah. You've got beautiful colour on those, Karen.
It's all about preheating the pan and cooking on the one side first for quite a long time. Resist the urge to turn the pork steak straight away because then you'll develop this colour.
Yeah, look at that.
And that looks beautiful.
Through there, it's beautiful.
So
Let's
we'll
put it-
pop some of the mandarin down.
So you basically construct the salad on the plate?
It is a bit freeform, yeah. And let's go with the pork steaks straight on the plate. And then some of the radish on top.
Cascading down.
And then just spooning some of those blackberries. Now remember what they've been steeped in. The organic spiral white wine vinegar.
A little bit of salt.
And just a little bit of salt. And then we've got all the spices in this spice
The
mix.
fennel.
And you've got the citrus notes. And let's not forget the SZECHUan pepper. Look at that. That's quite
That's
pretty.
pretty great.
It's so fragrant.
Gorgeous.
Seared pork steak with Szechuan salt.
Okay, we seem to have covered a lot of bases here, Karen. It's lactose-free, it's gluten-free, it's dairy-free, and you know what? It's
delicious.
Just delicious.
Hey Rich, it's been a fabulous day. The sun's about to set, so let's grab your pork steak. I found a little nook down in the
We're gonna
tea
eat this
trees.
outside.
And you're really going to appreciate the view.
It's going to
You
add to this
probably
dish,
haven't had
there's no
time
doubt.
to get out.